Uh, you're welcome to Bridge Talks, and today's episode will be about the role of youth in tribalism. TDK is host today, and with me is Denku, who I will invite to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about himself.
All right, thank you very much, Deng. It's a glad thing for me to be part of this interview.
Yeah,
And I want to begin by thanking you for the effort and also for
sure.
engaging young people in the country.
Yeah,
Um, my name is Deng. Uh, my name is Deng Kur. I am the founding director of South Sudan Youth Interface. It's a national youth organization that deals in youth capacity building and leadership training for the young people in the country. I was also the president of South Sudan General Students Union between 2021 to 2022. And I have been also engaged in a number of youth activities for the last 5 years. So thank you very much. That's a brief introduction I can give right now.
okay. Thank you for the brief introduction. I find that introduction very brief and clear. And I feel you're the right person that I should have a conversation with about the topic of the youth and tribalism. So probably I'm sure you have interacted with a lot of youth and you have faced a few of the youth facing this in Juba or somewhere else. So to start with, we want to know, based on your experience and the fact that you have dealt with a lot of youth in your capacity, what could be the role that the young people are playing in tribalism right now?
Well, that's a very good question. And with my experience of over reaching out to almost 5 or 6 years now in youth activities, I'd say youth politics, though it's not considered actually politics.
Yeah,
My student politics plus the youth engagement for the last 5 years has given me quite a clearer view of what role actually the young people are playing in tribalism. And I would say with great deal of confidence that youth would not be conceived as the central players in this issue, though they are actually supporting the idea. There are
sure.
other external factors, and I'd focus on what role the young people are playing, given the fact that I may also comment on those external factors later on.
Yeah,
My engagement with young people in the country has been positive, though there have been some ups and downs. That's always the case with youth politics.
yeah, sure.
Those, kind of sentiments as to this person is from here, this person is from here, are always there. But
Yeah,
what is important is how we are able to rise above those sentiments and be able to set a collective national agenda for the young people. And I also get to understand that especially at the university level, for the last few years when I was a student leader, we were
yeah,
fighting against this idea of having tribal association. You go to universities, you find, for example, there's this community youth student association, there's this community student association,
yeah,
tribal youth
sure.
associations, and student associations almost everywhere. And
Yeah,
one of our objections was that universities should be the breeding ground, apart from academics, they should be the breeding ground of national leaders who are very
yeah,
far from this, centralized community or tribal or ethnic differences. And how do you
yeah,
do that when you have community and tribal associations being allowed to operate in the universities? So we act
sure.
to officially object that idea, and
Yeah,
we reach out to many uh, vice chancellors in public universities and private universities advocating that they should be abolished completely.
Sure.
Unfortunately, we found a lot of resistance. Honestly,
Yeah.
uh, there was
Okay.
resistance from these associations because they
Yeah.
thought we were interfering in their, local organizations, and
Yeah.
yeah, they fought back. They fought back very hard, but we never relented. We had to fight so that
Mhm.
the university would come out officially and close down these tribal associations.
Yeah.
What am I trying to infer here? In other countries, and even in Sudan, when it was won in the
Yeah.
1970s and 80s,
Yeah.
I think there was a very organized, collective national spirit, especially from the people of the South. You would have those from Nuer, those from Shuluk, those from Equatoria in Rumbek Senior Secondary School, in Malakal, or here in Juba Commercial. And
Sure.
they were more united about the southern issue, the southern problem, especially with dominance and marginalization coming from the north. And that, I think, there was there was a very clear view of what the students actually should represent. And I think
Yeah.
these were secondary school students. They were not university students. In our cases, it's quite different, and it's extremely disappointing to have university students thinking along tribal and then going down thinking along community lines. It's not that bad to organize at a community level and
Yeah.
to promote your culture, to promote your well-being and togetherness. But then
Mm.
again, it's quite dangerous when you promote this kind of ethnic or tribal chauvinism at the expense of national unity. and
Sure.
and this was the main reason we objected this idea. And up to now, we have managed very well. Most of the universities have abolished community and tribal associations.
Yeah.
The recent one was the University of Juba, with a new vice chancellor officially ordering that there would be no tribal or community association allowed to operate in the university, which I think is a very positive step.
Sure.
Uh, what I know is that the young people getting engaged in this tribal or community association, and I said earlier, come as a result of two things. One, there's a need for collective solidarity among the young people,
Yeah.
and they find it extremely hard, given the limited political space in the country, to unite their voices and organize. And
Sure.
the only opportunity they find is finding these spaces in the community associations. And this is
Yeah.
where they organize at most, because political interference, for example, has infantilized all the youth organization in the country.
Yeah.
Even if they exist, they just exist by names. The government is not supporting them. Even the government officials don't have keen interest in national youth organizations than they have keen interest in community or tribal associations. You see, and,
Yeah.
and this is where they get their platform to actually engage in politics and actually advance, their personal interests. So
Sure.
they are more bent to local youth association at a community or tribal level than they are at a very national level. And I think this has been one of the external factors that has influenced the young people to
Yeah.
organize at that level, because this is where they find a space, but also this is where they find, the ears of those who have the political power, those who have the resources to do whatever they want to do. A clear example is the body that I was leading, the South Sudan General Students Union. Up to now, uh, the body has been existing by name, and it has
Okay.
been existing only through our commitment, to make sure that we organize and we formulate the office structure and do whatever we can at our capacity. There's no clear government policy that supports this student organization at a national level. The
Yeah.
National Youth Union, though it is under the Ministry of Youth and Sport, up to now has no budget for oppression like other youth organizations in different countries. And this is the
Okay.
national union of all the youth in the country that is supposed to be fully funded by the government, and that is supposed to be operational as an independent youth organization in the country. So if you see that these national youth bodies are dysfunctional because they are under resourced, what happens is, if you have that view that community associations are more powerful, they are well funded, and they are popular, what happened is that the young people recede back and they find interest in organizing themselves at a community and tribal level so that they get the resources, but also they get the platform to be heard. So I think this is one of the external factors that is actually influencing young people. We could not say entirely that it is the youth who are engaged in tribalism for one reason or another, but we could
Sure.
say because of some of these external factors, the young people have been able to find common space more at the community level than the national level.
Okay. Thank you for the part you have given to us, and I am happy about the initiatives that you and your group have been taking within Juba to try and wipe out tribalism. That is a great move, and slowly by slowly, I believe everything can work out and things can happen. Things can click at a certain point. So, the other thing that we have seen commonly in South Sudan is that when you look at the youth in South Sudan, myself, I've seen a lot of Dinkas who claim, the Nuer are like this, the Nuer are like this, the other people are like this, or a lot of Nuer who will come up and say the Dinkas are like this, and the Dinkas are like this, and this is some kind of generalization that maybe they get to see from a certain small group or from one person that they experience something with, and they end up generalizing the whole group. So, why do you think that so many young people are getting caught up in this kind of tribalism mindset and this kind of behavior?
Well, that's a very good question. The thing is here, and I think I'm very clear on this issue, and I've been always very clear on this issue on many public occasions where I have been speaking.
Yeah,
I think the young people in South Sudan have no problem among themselves, as is opposed to popular opinion. I have
okay,
not seen that. What I see is the effect of lack of clear national policy towards what is it that unites people in the first
yeah,
place. Because politics played at the national level have their own way of influencing popular opinion. Also, they have
yeah,
their own way of influencing communities and polarizing people. That is a clear, thing that we all agree. It is not only in South Sudan; it is a global issue. It's happening in much of Africa and even in European countries. You
yeah,
have polarization everywhere. And
yeah, sure,
now, how do you dissect that kind of political polarization from the real, division that is happening among the young people? It's
yeah,
quite difficult to say that. We would have to clearly dissect that, because when you have the political influence coming in from the political leaders, raising those sentiments. For example, they might have failed to get their interests, and because of that, they used the opportunity to advance tribal division. That's we have been neglected, we have been divided, we have been marginalized. That becomes a dominant narrative. And if you look now, for example, the Dinka and the Nuer young people in in different parts,
how much of the youth tribalism today would,
I don't think there's a clear national policy that's the government of South Sudan has developed to engage the young people in a positive way. In employment system, for example, if you go to the Ministry of Public Service or the Ministry of Labor, for example, they did not have an organized policy in which young people in the country should be employed, for example. So
Yeah.
you have, for example, in government station, there's a new term called ethnic stalking. You come as a minister, and then you bring your community members, you employ them at will without been following the procedures, and nobody asked
Yeah.
you. So you find the ministry, from the minister to someone who is sweeping, they may be from only one community, you see, and no government, like this, what happened in other countries called ombudsman that is established to question this criteria. How do you bring people from your community to be the only people in the ministry? How do you bring people from a particular tribe to be the dominant in one particular ministry? There's no question to that. And I think
Yeah.
this kind of polarization is what goes back to the young people, and actually influences their feeling. And in
Yeah.
that regard, it is not that young people are mired in this kind of tribal mindset. It is because of resistance to those kind of policies. When they see, for example, one particular ministry with a number of people from this particular tribe or community, that level of resistance, that level of resentment becomes a tribal sentiment. And this is what people think sometimes is tribalism. So these are real, issues. These are real problems that are in our society that young people are trying to resist. The only issue is the level of our resistance and how we resist them. Because if we don't direct them to the right sources, we'll end up having division among ourselves. And this is where this issue of, this community or this youth and this youth from this community are dominating. So it's not actually a tribal dominance or a tribal issue between young people, but this is a failure of national policies that has negatively influenced the young people, that raises this kind of sentiments. So that's what I would say for now, as a result of this kind of behavioral question that is affecting our young people.
Okay. I think the other point would be when we come politically, I think how much of the youth tribalism today would you say that it's being fueled by political manipulation? Because we have seen a lot of that happen.
Well, this is the central question, and I think this is the heart of the discussion. Almost much of it
Mm.
is being uh, uh, could be derived from political manipulation. It's the fact that nobody can deny that the
Yeah.
young people in this country have been polarized along ethnic and tribal lines, for those who want to achieve their political interests. And if you can see from 2013 to 2016 to what is happening now, all the problems in the country, we cannot say this is some revolution or some kind of resistance that has been started by young people. They always come as a result of, you know, a response to to the division among political leaders. And I think this is where we can really come to understand that the division we have as young people in the country are not personal, and they are not even youth centered. Most of them are, coming as a result of support from particular groups supporting particular group of politicians. And because politicians see young people as the dominant force, political force in the country, whether this is through military violence or through population, they always find, the masses and the young people, and they would always be in a position to exploit whatever differences they have among them, to make sure that they have support among the young people. What is quite critical is that the level of education in our country is serving as as a fuel for this kind of division. Because
Yeah.
if you go now to someone in the village, for example, and tell him whatever you want to tell him about a particular tribe or a particular group of people, it is easy for them to catch feelings. And even without making proper judgment, it is easy for them to take an action. That is not the same as telling someone who is a graduate or a university student about a particular community or a particular group of people and what they are doing against you. That's quite difficult. And if someone is well read or well versed with national politics, I think he or she would be in a position to challenge that idea and tell you that it is not like this. This is how I see it. So the fact that out of 72 percent of the national population, of the young people, almost more than half, or even 75% of that population is not educated. And what do you do with this large population of young people that is not educated? If you are not very careful with handling this, larger population of young people that is not educated, that could be, a recipe for national disaster, because violence can be understood in different contexts. There are those who understand it as a form of resistance to external domination, and there are those who understand it as a form of defense, from people questioning their authority. And sometimes, without clearer view of national politics and also without a clearer understanding of political differences among political leaders, those passions could be high and they could lead to a larger national division. And I think this is where political polarization plays a very critical role in terms of dividing young people. So, in that context, I would say much of the political polarization constitutes what divides young.
Okay. So I don't know, when we talk about the consequences that we are facing because of the tribalism, uh, it's because of us knowing the consequences that we shall be able to counteract the tribalism and be able to maybe solve it or be able to stop it in the country. So you can let us know a little bit about the consequences that or the damage that it's bringing to the country.
Well, I think some of the consequences we are already facing them now. Uh, Yet many are still yet to come if nothing is done to get back on track and actually uh, educate our young people about the effect of tribalism in the national progress as a collective people. Uh, One of the major consequences would be division of the country along ethnic lines, which is actually happening in some parts of the country now. Um Whatever the explanation that people would give, they would give it based on their own interests. But I'd see that as young people, we are already facing the effect of those consequences. The second thing is that even considering economic, progress of the young people, that brings a lot of consequences, because if you have this kind of ethnic stalking happening in government institutions, what about those communities or those tribes who do not have their tribesmen or tribeswomen in government position? Where are they going to get jobs, despite the fact that they are qualified? Now it is only very few institutions of government that are still honest. they would come out officially. They would announce that the recruitment is going on, and there would be some form of a fair recruitment process. But most of the government institutions don't do this. You just go to the ministry, you start asking people from your background, come bring your papers, whether you have a degree or you have a senior four certificate or you don't even have. They start employing you, and that makes institutions dysfunctional, because you bring people who have no experience, people also who have no qualification, and you put them in very senior government positions. They cannot deliver, but at certain point they can also derail the progress of those institutions. And to a greater extent, these people are blocking the chances for those who have really worked hard, from primary school to universities. Other people have even master's degree, but simply because they have no these kind of political connections, it becomes extremely hard for them to access those institutions. And this is why you find in South Sudan, there are certain institutions that are meant for certain communities or certain groups of people. Uh, this is dangerous for national progress. It is dangerous for collective unity of the country. And it is also dangerous for sustained progress that we want as a country, because you cannot say, for instance, that it would be convincing to have I in the ministry with the rest of the staff in the ministry coming from my own community, and that is just fair. It doesn't make sense. And this country was fought by almost everyone. There was nobody that did not participate in the liberation of the country. And thinking that because you have that opportunity or a chance to be a minister or to be a very senior government official, you decide things based on your own emotions and feelings, doesn't really work. So, what I think should be the best way to challenge these consequences is to organize, first of all, the recruitment process in government institutions, so that there should be an organized process. Whether you are bringing someone to be a private secretary or you're bringing someone to be junior staff, he or she has to come through an organized process, and he or she must also meet the qualification of that particular position that he holds, because he or she is going to engage with people from different tribes, from different communities. He's not only just going to sit in the office and engage with community issues as should be the case with other people. I think that is where we are facing a lot of consequences, and that kind of implication has already affected young people now. You would see on the streets, there are people who are really qualified. They are competent, they are very qualified, but they have no access to jobs. You cannot find a job that suits you. And even if you find it, it's difficult to maintain it, because someone will just come tomorrow and remove you without even a due process, and bring somebody that they know or come from the particular community. And I think this is something that must be challenged. It must be challenged by everyone who is concerned about the future of this country. It must be challenged by every young people or every young person who thinks that the future of this country belongs to us.
Okay, thank you for the briefing about the challenges and those consequences we have seen. These are things that are very common, and we have seen them everywhere in South Sudan. And now the big question is, how do we do away with this? Now, I did some research, and I was checking on the statistics on the youth in Africa. And I think according to statistics of African Union, they say that there is more than 60% of the youth in Africa, and these 60% are below 25. And this has a big implication. When we get that a big number is the youth, this shows that the future of the country is in the hands of the youth. What does that mean? It means that we can either decide to fuel the tribalism or we can decide to end it. Most of the part is in the hand of the youth. because the bigger number can dictate what can happen. So the big question now is, how do we solve this? How do we as the youth be able to prevent the tribal mindset from the rest of the people in the country?
Yeah, well, the thing is, there are certain consequences of policies that always affect young people, and they will always affect young people, not only now but even in the future. What I would say is that solutions, in as much as they may not be comprehensive, or in as much as they may not be broader enough to cover the whole of the country, uh, it would always be good for young people to engage in activities that unite them. For instance, when I established this organization called South Sudan Youth Interface, we have been, through the help of international donors and partners, we have been able to organize youth programs, including the youth training on leadership. We have been able to organize capacity building, especially with institutions like the World Bank, UNMISS, and the UNDP. We have been able to engage the young people on constitution making process and how they would actually play a critical role in the constitution making process, fight for their rights, fight for their spaces in politics as well as in the entire governance system. We've been able to organize functions that unite the young people, like conversations, daily conversations. We've been able to organize public forums, especially public lectures on national progress, national unity, and also making comparison with other countries in the region and throughout Africa. And I think that that small effort, even if it may not have major impact on the youth throughout the country, it may have major impact on the youth in the localities we have reached. And if young people engage in this kind of activities to come together and actually uh, challenge themselves and challenge also their way into some kind of structures that exclude them, I think that would be the start. And I think that would be a great contribution from the young people. If we engage in these activities that unite us from different walk of life, for example, in the youth interface, we are almost from every tribe is there. And we have given each and everyone the role that distinguishes their abilities, and that shows that we are capable of doing something. So I think that in our capacity as a young people is what we should do. The second thing is to improve and to never give up or relent on our ability to advocate for spaces for young people in the country. In as much as our government officials may have different view of what the young people actually mean when it comes to public responsibilities, there are some of the government officials who are really concerned about the issues that are facing young people. And I think they would have our ears if we organize and challenge them, tell them that young people should be given these spaces so that they exercise leadership and they also be in a position to gain experience and learn. And I think those kind of leaders who will always give ears will be in a position to extend to some of their colleagues these concerns from the young people. I think that would be the greatest contribution. If we sit back and wait for time to come when things will change, I think that will never happen. And it has never happened for generations. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, that's great. And I think I've already seen that you people have taken initiatives. You have already started on it. As you said at the beginning, the initiatives that you have taken to stop the tribal groups in the universities and the rest. I think that is already a big move. And There are many other ways that us as the youth could be able to prevent this. So, what could be your take on, sometimes we could use things like talent to prevent this. And among the youth, we have a lot of talented people. And this is why I could ask that don't you think that stuff like art, music, or content creation, such stuffs, couldn't they be play a big role on preventing or fighting the tribalism?
Yeah, that's a very good observation there, and not only in South Sudan, everywhere in the world. Even now, when you look at the West, when you look at other countries in Asia and some part of Africa, popular culture plays a very critical role in preserving national unity and actually collective expression of the people. That, I think, put the young people at the center of that kind of popular culture. And I would say music, art, and other things like the role of young people on internet is also central in this discussion. What we have in South Sudan is we indeed have music as playing a very critical role. We cannot explain away that. Some of the musicians since independence have really played a very critical role in uniting the country. They have sung songs that unite the country. They have composed, very beautiful songs that appeal to national sentiments. And this is how young people should be engaged in music. Um, that also brings in a number of questions, because how does this music inspire generations? How does it influence the opinion of the young people? And what is happening is that we have no some kind of organized, cultural foundation that leads us to a certain conclusion that this music would really be national music at a certain point. Everyone now is having their own music that is a little bit attached to their culture, and considering the fact that we have 64 tribes with different cultures in the country, that also would have some little bit of negative impact of implications in terms of trying to improve very much or increase ethnic sentiments or ethnic nationalism. But I would say if the music and art can be transformed into a national tool to unite the young people and unite this generation, it would also come with a clear government policy, or at least a policy among the young people themselves. Of we will say, for example, we have a national award every year, or a national cultural festival every year, where the ministry, for example, the Ministry of Culture and Heritage and the Ministry of Youth can join together and organize a national music and art festival or a national cultural award. You're bringing all these tribes together, organize, their beautiful, cultures, and then you give them, gifts and awards and recognition every year. I think that would be a good ground to unite the young people. It would be a good ground to create commonality. That is not there right now. Every tribe, every community, they organize their own function. They want to distinguish themselves as, superior and good and beautiful and all that. I think this is also a space that can be exploited positively. And that's why I said earlier on, if institutions like the National Youth Union was to were to be actually well funded, they would have been the good institutions to advance this kind of policies, because they would be in a position to organize the youth. They would be in a position to organize the national cultural festivals, to see the diverse beauty of the people of South Sudan. And in that regard, if it is done every year, there will be kind of, association among the young people using the ability of music, the ability of art and culture to actually forge a collective national spirit. So I think the music and art play a very central role in creating unity and fighting tribalism. But also, if they're not well structured or well organized, they can also play a negative role in dividing the country.
Okay. I think you have taken us through what music and art could do, and probably would urge those who have that talent and those who have that ability to go out there and use it and help us reach to the vision of the nation where we would wish a nation without tribalism at the end of the day. So we are almost coming to the end of the conversation, and I think so far we are going well. Uh, One of the other questions is what message would you give to a young person who feels torn between loyalty to their tribe and doing what is right, as someone who has dealt with the youth and has a little bit of experience with the youth for almost the past 5 years?
Well, thank you very much. We have this kind of feelings even at the family level. Sometimes you may have an opinion of what is it that you want to get rid of, but if you don't know how to get rid of it, sometimes that opinion will not count. This is also with the young people in the country. There are young people who really want to do something to unite our country, and they would want to exert every effort to make sure that uh, their contribution or their activities influence in a positive way a greater or a broader population of young people. But they find themselves at certain level constrained. One, because of lack of resources, but also because of certain, supervening conditions. For example, uh, lack of acceptance. If they feel like they are not accepted in that particular tribe, or I'm a Dinka and I want to organize the Noer and I want to tell them that this is what should be done. And sometimes I feel like I'm not being accepted or recognized there. If I give up in doing that, I think that's where the failure begins. But if I start by creating, link or friendship with some elements or few colleagues from within the Nuer community, definitely I'll find a space for acceptance. And slowly by slowly, we'll have to build that kind of relationship and even advance it well to a level that creates unity among people. So I think if there's that feeling in the first place that one would want to do something important to unite the country, we should not also create, boundaries in our minds. So if you have this kind of mental, borders, where you think
Yeah,
that if you do this today, it will be rejected, I think that's the beginning of the failure. So success, as many philosophers say, begins in the mind. So it begins in your mindset. It begins in how you look at things. It begins in how you approach failure and how you think about failure. Because if you put too much of reservation in whatever you do, there are very few chances of you succeeding. And that is, I think, the gist of the matter. So I think young people in the country have a lot of potential. And if I were to give a very humble and honest advice, it is for us to positively exploit those potentials in the best interest of our country uh, and the people of South Sudan, that we can have a collective future, that we can have a future that is reflective of all of us, whatever our origins or whatever our background. I think the young people will forge a different national outlook of the country.
sure. Okay, thank you very much for that. And the other part would be, I believe so much in giving challenges. And to end the video, I would say that what challenge would you give to the people listening to this video today to be able to end the tribalism or to be able to fight the tribalism?
Yeah, thank you very much for the interview. Uh, I would say young people have a bigger challenge, and that is a challenge, for example, of environment. That's one. You may find yourself in an environment where ideas do not really matter, and it would require you to engage in certain rhetoric in order to influence people. That's a big challenge. Number two challenge is the challenge of resources. You may find yourself having beautiful ideas, ideas that can appeal to a broader, national population of young people. But without resources, those ideas cannot go through. So I would urge those young people who have such ideas never to give up, because you know thinking of an idea and giving up on it is the biggest failure that a leader can do. So if you have an idea of uniting the people, no matter what the constraints are, whether this is resource constraint, or whether this is environmental challenges, let that idea live, let it live forever, and let it not fade in you, because uh, the more you have it, resources will definitely come, and you will be able to influence a good number of population in a positive way that unites the people.
Uh,
Mm.
Thank you very much for the time you have given us, Bridge Talks, and I'm happy to have you today. And I believe that our nation will be able to get something from our conversation. And in the future, I would still like to have you in other more conversations that I will be preparing and organizing.
Thank you.
So I really appreciate your effort,
Thank you so
and
much.
thank
Yeah.
you very much. Yeah, thank you. So
Thank you so much.